Hey, what's up, everybody? Jonathan Mallard here, and I am excited to come to you with our second episode of Making Money with Benzinga Pro. We've got a lot to cover today. We're going to dig into the news feed, some of the exclusive news that's available on Benzinga Pro, and you can follow along at pro.benzinga.com. If you don't have it, you can start a free trial today, no credit card required. So let's dig right into it. So I am just opening up my Benzinga Pro screen right here. And the first thing that I want to point out is one of the biggest movers from this morning actually came from an exclusive news item from our breaking news team. So if I go to our movers tool like I do every day, if I go over here to the movers tool, you'll see that right here at the top of my gainers is AgriFORCE. So this popped up this morning, and even if I switch this over to the pre-market, this was one of the biggest movers in the pre-market, and you can see that it was moving this morning, and then it just took off. So the question is, how could we find something like this with a news catalyst that wouldn't be available anywhere else? And what I'm going to do to show that is to click over to the news tab here within the details tool. And we can go down to this exclusive news item where it says AgriForce reports letter of intent to buy tissue culture propagation company DeRusse plants for an expected $69 million in cash and debt. So if I scroll down here, it gives you all the details, and you can see that this was an exclusive news item. I would have to zoom in a little bit more for you to see that tag better, but it's tagged with exclusives. So this means that this was available before any other press release came out. It's on Benzinga Wire, and you can see that about 30 minutes later at 8:50, the press release came out through let's see, that's Globe Newswire. So this is the normal press release that everybody else had access to, but you had access on Benzinga Pro 30 minutes beforehand. And the second press release was tagged with mergers and acquisitions. So, of course, this was a huge opportunity. Even if you weren't trading off of the initial exclusive news item, you could have found this on the pre-market gainers. You could have just been on here saying, okay, what's moving in the pre-market? Oh, what do you know? Fifth item down, AgriForce up 24% at the time. And it would have looked like this. Hindsight's 2020. But you could have checked this out in the pre-market. Draw out your support and resistance lines, the stuff that we covered yesterday with myself and Ryan, just doing the stuff we always do, looking for gap and go setups using the movers tool. But then you can take this a whole step further if you have a news feed open. And news is really what we're known for here at Benzinga Pro. It's really how it got started as a software service, other than our free site, benzinga.com. And there are ways to filter this news feed so that you will never miss one of those exclusive news items. So let's do that right now. First of all, you open up your news tool in your current workspace, and then you have this thing called categories. So I'm clicking on the categories button underneath the search bar on the news tool. I click on that. And what you want to pay attention to here are three of these are already highlighted. I have to get used to this PC because I'm normally on a Mac. But there we go. I can zoom in a little bit. So hopefully you can see it a little easier. So these categories are those little tags that are associated with certain types of news items. And the one I want to highlight today is market moving exclusives. So those few items that our breaking news team has before anywhere else, before any press release comes out, and you can take advantage of that on Benzinga Pro. So if I click done here, you're going to see that we had not one but two companies that we made announcements for today, and they're at 8:20 a.m. for AgriForce. This is how it would have shown up for you on your news feed. And it looks like we have one other that's on here with some other news. But as long as you have this on here, you're going to get any exclusive news items that we have at Benzinga before anyone else. So you won't miss out on another huge gainer like AgriFORCE. And then, of course, you just want to click on it, do some more research, take a look at the chart, take a look at what else is going on with that company, and you're good to go. You can also set up alerts for these types of exclusive news items by clicking on the bell symbol here in the upper right corner where it says alerts. And you've got all these alerts that are available with market moving exclusives right there at the very top. You could turn on a sound alert, or you could check that box for an email alert for each time there's a new market moving exclusive. You could also choose some of these other ones like analyst ratings, cannabis, commodities, cryptocurrency, FDA, you name it. There's a lot of great, rumors is a really good one. So you can set a bunch of alerts for categories right there within that bell symbol. All right, so that's number one. Number two, I mean, unless you were living under a rock, a big thing for today was the CPI numbers. What is inflation doing? And I get people all the time asking me, Jonathan, how can I just follow the overall market? I want to know important econ numbers. I want to know what the Federal Reserve is doing. I want to know about things coming out of the White House or the geopolitical situations. And a quick and simple way to follow a lot of that stuff is to search for the SPY on the newsfeed. So if I just search for the SPY here, you're going to see that I have a whole bunch of relevant news items for the overall markets. This is also what I tell my people who are trading the futures on indices. Usually, you've got those ETFs you can search for on Benzinga Pro, as well as those mega cap stocks that would affect the overall market. And you can see here that we had our core CPI numbers at 8:30 a.m. I just click on that, and this is tagged with econ numbers, economics, hot, and news. So it's in red there, and you can see the month over month, year over year. So we had both core CPI and regular CPI, as well as the jobless claims. So you could just search for the SPY, or you could also search for a watch list. Let's say you have a watch list with the indices or some other mega caps. I had already built a watch list, and this is telling the system, you know what? I only want to see news on Apple, Facebook, Microsoft, the Qs, you name it. I click done, and we're good to go. So this way I'm getting the SPY, but also some other companies or tickers. And then one other thing for macro news, economic stuff, we do have the economics category here. So you could check that box to just see those items. We also have, let's see here, under news, you've got things like earnings, asset sales, buybacks, contracts. So a lot of these heavy hitting news items that you're going to see come up again and again from those movers, you can really choose to highlight those and even visually highlight those on your feed by selecting those categories in your news feed. So for example, I really like asset sales, buybacks, and contracts. I'll go ahead and highlight those. I really like FDA approvals, not so much talking about the overall market now, but more so individual equities. And then rumors. Rumors are extremely powerful. So if I just leave it at this, of course, I'd also want market moving exclusives, mergers and acquisitions, hot, Federal Reserve, and click done. Now I'm getting a shorter, condensed feed with more power packed headlines that are most likely to move the market. And Triple X is saying AgriFORCE is dropping. Yeah, that's possible. We've seen a lot of our big movers from the past 2 days that had some excellent day trading situations that did drop later on in the day. So you can see here that even if you want to track it throughout the day, you've got multiple time frames available on the charts, or even there is a separate charting tool if you want to get rid of some of the other stuff that's taking up that space on your screen. So, yeah, you can see it spiked up significantly. Oh, this is the SPY again. So I have to go back to AgriFORCE. So, yeah, it jumped up, and then you could have drawn your lines here in the pre-market, and then add any indicators, and you're good to go. So yeah, multiple trading opportunities today. There were a lot of people. I was talking with Ryan, and a lot of people who were watching live trading this morning right here on YouTube were able to cash in on this stock earlier today. Also, I want to point out another trade from yesterday that we mentioned. It was ENJY. I think it was. Let's see. It's down today. If I drag this over, but you can see that yesterday we actually mentioned an idea from the ideas tool that one of my coworkers, Joni, had. And if I open up the ideas tool, I just want to go down to her idea because you can see that she found Enjoy on the Skinner tool yesterday near the end of the trading day. So this would have been 2 days ago. Purchased it at 299, looking to sell at 365 with a stop loss of 326. So she got in at 299, wherever that was. She saw that it was moving up, and then she held it overnight actually, and it went up, and boom, went up to 370 today. She was able to exit around, she ended up getting out around 361. Um, but that was another one from the scanner. She found that, and she was able to make an overnight play and cash out today. So definitely pay attention to this ideas tool. Just wanted to circle back. We mentioned that yesterday, and it was great to see another trade working out in our favor. Okay, let's take a step back, go back to the news feed here, because what we covered so far was some exclusive news on AgriFORCE. It was great that we had that exclusive news item and then it took off. We showed you some categories that you can use to really focus in on those news items that are more likely to impact individual stocks or the overall market. I showed you how you can just check a box here to filter by a watch list, whether that's indices or individual stocks. Or you can throw your movers in here. And then we have the screener filter. And for those of you who might have been on Benzinga Pro months or years ago, you can see that this is new, where I could say, you know what, I only want to see news on stocks from maybe $5 to $25. Let's say I only trade stocks from 5 to 25 bucks. And I only want to see stocks that have options on them. And then I click done. So that's going to cut out a lot of the noise for stocks that I don't trade. And that can be very helpful because there's so much information here. The question is, how do I narrow it down to things that actually matter to me? See you guys in the chat. Anyone playing Oracle? I know Oracle has earnings today, and then everything dipping in energy. Thank you, Morden and Thrifty, or 30, 30 feet. Yeah, so let's talk about Oracle. Let's go take a look over here. I'll just open up the details tool. And let's see what's going on with Oracle. All right, so We take a look at the chart first and foremost, and it looks like there's a conference call scheduled at 5 o'clock after the earnings announcement after the close today. And this is what we're looking at. So, from the past few months, we can see that it gapped up back in December, and it's been slowly floating its way down and pushed back up off of about $70 there. When the whole market crashed, had a flash crash, and then pushed right back up on February 24th. So it'll be interesting to see how the market reacts to Oracle today. Yeah, ER and TikTok deal. Interesting. And then if you're ever looking for the fastest earnings news, so we're on the tail end of earnings season here. That's one thing that I didn't cover on the news feed. But the fastest way to get earnings news is to have the news tool open. And then you want to add press releases as a source. So Benzinga Wire is great, but a lot of these are manually typed headlines. So you want to add in press releases here. You could also do SEC filings if you want to. And I usually like to change the color of press releases to tell the difference between those and Benzinga Wire. And then I'm going to go to categories and go to my news categories and just click on earnings and guidance and click done. So now I'm only looking at earnings and guidance news. And if I scroll down to this morning before the open, you can see how you get some of these press releases, and then a few seconds or minutes later, you get the summary headline with the key data points. So I have the press release. This is the press release there is also tagged with earnings. And so immediately, right at 8:30, you had the press release with key data points, and then you had a follow-up article or headline a few minutes later with only those key data points. So if you're following earnings, you definitely want to pay attention to this. And then also, we had the Amazon stock split today. That was a huge news item, and you would have found that on the news feed as well. So if I go to details and look up Amazon, and then we just click on the news item, you could see that this was announced yesterday after the close. And that, of course, was one of our big hot items. And this is also tagged with buybacks and stock splits. So obviously, anything involving Amazon is a big deal. But you could find other stock splits and buybacks with those tags under the categories. So just as a reminder there, again, if I open up the news feed and go to categories, I think this would be under the news categories. And you've got buybacks right there. That's why I highlighted those, is because that would have shown up right away in my news feed. And then you also have stock splits here as well. All right. Let's see. We've got ER and TikTok deal. What's going on with ER? Oh, let's see here. DraftKings. Let's take a look at DraftKings. All right, DraftKings. What's going on here? You can see it's pretty easy. Wow. All right. Moving up on high volume here. It's power hour. Taking back what was lost earlier in the day. And then what I want to highlight here about the chart is that you've got the 1 minute chart available as well. So this is real-time charting. You do have the indicators available. Um, you can compare multiple tickers and all that good stuff. And you have drawings available on here. So notice how these 1 minute candles are updating in real time. I always get questions about that. So you can use these charts for day trading. What's going on here with DraftKings? It looks like, all right, so they had a press release this morning. Following report, Major League Baseball's Players Association have reached a tentative deal. So it looks like that's Bloomberg citing ESPN. So it's just good to know why that might be moving. All right. So I showed you the screener filter. I showed you how to filter by watch list. I showed you some good category filters, and that's what I love, just to narrow everything down so that I don't get lost in all of the noise there. And then the sources, because you've got Benzinga Wire, you've got the press releases, you got SEC filings, all there in one spot. So you don't have to spend a bunch of time clicking around to different websites and wondering what in the world is going on. And I'm going to throw something in the chat here. Let's see here. I guess it's a banner. Maybe I'll throw it up there later. But basically, we have a new plan, and you can get started at pro.benzinga.com. You can get the full featured trial, and then the lowest cost plan starts at $27 a month. I'm just throwing this on here, pro.benzinga.com. If you don't have it, get started today at pro.benzinga.com. All right, we were talking about the CPI numbers, and there's a couple good ways just to look ahead and see what economic data or earnings are coming up. Just a really good way to get ready for the day. And if I click on categories here, get rid of whatever I had on here. One that I really like is the pre-market outlook. So if you just check pre-market outlook and click done, you'll see that I've got earnings scheduled for today in a nice little article. I've got 5 stocks to watch from our news team, stocks that are moving based off of news. You can see that Oracle was on there, Asana, JD.com, Fossil, and Ulta were from today. And then just some big movers in different sectors that can kind of tell you what's going on with different sectors. And then again another Benzinga Pro's top 5 stocks to watch for later on in the morning. So here we had Amazon, Yum China, Indonesia Energy, Natera, and Lightbridge, kind of giving you some trading ideas before the open. So that's nice. And then I'm going to hop over to the calendar tool here. And the calendar tool is another great way to plan ahead. You can research historical data. You can see here we've got the earnings calendar up. And what I like to highlight is the fact that there is a column available. I don't know if you can see that very well, but if I zoom in a little bit, you see how it says columns and filters over here on the right-hand side? Well, that's where you can add additional columns, and I added this importance column. And then I'll zoom out again. So now it's nice because this is from our news desk, and they just kind of tell you, all right, here are the important ones that you want to pay attention to. You can see Oracle on there, as well as some others like Ulta, Rivian, JD. A lot of these were on our stocks to watch for today. And then we have the same thing for economics. So if you just want to know, all right, what economic events are going on today, of course, you've got that on the news feed, but then you can also look manually, and maybe there's some stuff going on outside of the United States that you want to pay attention to. The economics calendar is a great way to do that. And you can see that the CPI, the jobless claims are on here. And you could filter this down to the United States if you're not paying attention to other countries. Really, whatever country you're interested in, you could just deselect everything and then select the countries that you want to follow for those economic events. So lots you can do here. I could spend a whole nother session, I'm sure we will, on the calendar tool. But just since today we're all watching those CPI numbers, wondering, all right, what's actually happening with inflation? Is it as bad as we expect? Is it not as bad as we expect? And it turns out everyone was like, okay, yeah, inflation is still relatively high, but it's not that much higher than we expected. It was the same as the consensus. So, yeah, the market didn't freak out too badly there. And then just notice how you can switch over to other calendars. You got analyst ratings. If you want to click into conference calls, they're here. So you can call into those webcasts after the earnings announcements. And you can filter all these calendars by a watch list as well. Like if you want, let's see, nothing's coming up for these because none of those companies have conference calls today, but that's how you can filter by a watch list. All right. So it was kind of a quick fire theme today. Hopefully I'll have another guest for all of you tomorrow with some additional strategies on how you can use Benzinga Pro to find additional trading opportunities. Good luck out there today. And until next time, happy trading. Yeah, thank you, Brian. I see you out there. I'm glad this was helpful for you. And by the way, let me throw my email out there. I'm posting this into the chat. You can reach me directly at jonathan@benzinga.com. If you want to see anything on this show, just let me know. It's really just how to use Benzinga Pro, how we can make more money together, and hopefully this show will just keep growing day in and day out. So I'll see you tomorrow at 3 o'clock.